Good morning, little crafters. How are all of you today? Elizabeth here with a skilled functional skills level unit. So this is our skilled crafters. This is AQA Unit Award Scheme number 121151. It's called Marine Biology Shark Movement, and we'll be talking about the different adaptations and organs in sharks that allow them to move the way they do. Things that you might want to have on hand to do this AQA would be reference books. You can use the internet as well, but my family tends to use reference books. We like books, and also things like models. So I found this the other day in a charity shop, actually, and it called to me, and it has models of the different organs that go inside of a great white so that you can look at it. And I'll go close up with some of the parts to show you some of the parts that deal with movement. If you can see and hear me okay, please let me know in the comments. If you are watching later on replay, please type replay. And let's get started. Let's see what we're going to learn about today. Make that bigger. So today we will learn about shark anatomy. So we'll talk about things like skeletons, cartilage versus bone. We'll talk about their fins, their muscles, their skin, their teeth, and then two of the organs that help with them with movement. One is the liver and the other are gills. And then that's compared to our lungs. Okay, so those are the different anatomical parts we'll be talking about. First, let's wake up your brains this morning. I want you to look at this skeleton. Is this a shark or not a shark? Let me know in the comments. Shout at the screen, please. Do you think this would be from a shark or not a shark? Let's see what you guys are saying. Comments coming in. I will tell you this one is a shark. So this is a short fin mako shark, and it's one of the fastest sharks in the oceans. It can go up to 74 kilometers per hour. And this is what it would look like inside if you were to look at its cartilage bones. It's cartilage rather than bones. What about this one? Looking at this, do you think this is a shark or not a shark? If you think it's a shark, what kind of shark do you think it is? If you think it's not a shark, what do you think it is from? Let me know in the comments. Shout at the screen, wake up your brain this lovely sunny morning. It's supposed to be warm today, isn't it? Shark or not a shark? Let me know in the comments. Shout at the screen. This one is not a shark. This is an orca or killer whale. Not a shark, but still marine life. Wake up your brain. Is this a image of something from a shark or not a shark? Yeah, Alex says it was a whale. True. Shark or not a shark? Is this an image that would come from part of a shark or not a shark? Let me know in the comments. Shout at the screen. Do you think this image is from a shark? You guys are on the ball this morning. So I have comments saying that you guys think it's a shark, and it is. This is a scanning electron microscope image of shark skin, and it's showing you the dermal denticles. We'll talk about those in a second, but it's the overlaying layers on shark skin. Someone sent in an AQA saying it was like sandpaper almost. It overlaps one another, these denticles. And it is shark. Okay, so let's start with skeletons, and we'll talk about the difference between cartilage and bone. So in our sharks, so I showed you the image of the mako shark. This one, it isn't bone. They have cartilage. And we'll talk about why that's in a second. It's rubbery and flexible versus bone. So you can feel it in your own body. Bone is in your fingers. You can feel those fingers. You can feel the bones in there and how they're hard, rigid. You know, the bones don't move. We can only move with our joints, right? Well, in a fish, or in sharks at least, they have cartilage, which is more rubbery and flexible. Where you can find that on humans is in your nose. So that moves. Your ears. So move around your ears. That's cartilage. And then there's also some in your knee joints. Okay, so we have cartilage in our bodies too, but our skeleton is not primarily made up of it the way that sharks is. Here's some examples of fish that have cartilage versus fish that have bones. So our cartilaginous fish are things like your skates and your sturgeon and your sharks. And then there are also bony fish in the world, herring, salmon, rainbow trout, all of the, yeah, so I can see you guys now, noses have cartilage in them. What's the difference? Why would sharks have cartilage? What are the advantages of having cartilage over the bones that they would have originally had? They adapted in order to create a cartilage skeleton. This is something that's unique to sharks. They adapted this ability and they have cartilage instead of bones. What is the advantage? Why would they do that? Why is it more useful for them to be rubbery and flexible as to opposed to have rigid bones? Can you think about what the adaptation would be? Why it happened and how it helps them with movement? Remember, this is called shark movement. One of the advantages is it is less dense, so it makes them lighter. So even though they're huge, their skeleton is a lot lighter than it would be if it was bones. So that gives them speed and buoyancy. It's flexible for agility. Remember, with those movements, they have to be able to propel themselves really fast. They are fast predators. And it is an evolutionary adaptation, meaning that at one point they probably would have had bones, but adapted over time to having this cartilage. It makes it easier to be more flexible. Perfect. It makes it easier to move. Exactly. They can move their bodies a lot better having cartilage than they could if it was rigid. And one of the things I'll show you real quick, I don't know, before we move on to fins, right? One of the things that you're going to see that this model, right now I just have it as the, you can see the skeleton, right? Still called a skeleton. You can see its jaw. There's the cranium up here. This is where it holds the brain. So the brain's up here, inside there. Then you have the jaw and all of the bones along here. One thing you're going to notice is they don't have a rib cage. So that's a big difference between us protecting our organs with our rib cage, right? We have ribs going across our body, and that protects our organs. There's no rib cage. They don't protect their organs the same way that mammals do. They need, instead, to have that lightness and buoyancy. So that is one big difference. Let's talk fins now. So here are the biological terms, which means the actual scientific terms for the different fins. So in red, you can see the dorsal and pectoral fins. And there's also the lower caudal. And then in blue, you have dorsal fins, pelvic fins, and the anal fin. And we can look at that on our model as well. So let's make me just a bit bigger and that a bit smaller. So we have the fins, and this one shows you inside at the muscles within the fins. I don't think my camera's going to pick it up too well. This would have been a cool one to dissect fish as a practical, but I'm not sure how we feel about dissections on screen, so we're not dissecting anything. So I thought the model was pretty cool. Let's see what you're saying. If they had bones instead, they would not be able to move quick enough to catch food. They've always had cartilage, otherwise they would all be dead. Yeah. There was the first form shark in the Devonian era. Yeah. They're quite old. Okay, so fins. We have the pelvic fin. Let me make it bigger again. Dorsal fin. So on top, that's the one that prevents rolling and gives them stability. Pelvic fins contribute to stability and turning. In male sharks, the pelvic fins are modified. So they're a bit different in males and females. Caudal fin is your primary propeller. So those at the back. These at the back are going to provide thrust and steering. And then the pectoral fins, so these coming off the side here, those are the ones that allow them, they're like flippers almost, and they allow them to steer. So each of those provides some sort of ability for them to be able to move. So propelling them, helping them steer, preventing them from just rolling around in barrel rolls. all of that is part of why they have fins. Can anyone guess what that image is on the bottom right? Where it says, let me know in the comments underneath it. It is a problem about their fins. A human problem. Does anyone know what's going on there? So I can show you the fins in that picture, but then what's going on below? This is an NOAA agent. He's counting confiscated shark fins. So there is a man getting attacked by a horde of birdies. Not quite. Those are fins. Those are shark fins. So there is a mass market for people who think that shark fins are really good as medicinal tools. So they can use them in different types of homeopathic medicines and things like that. And so they will hunt sharks, take their fin, and then let the sharks go back into the ocean. What's going to happen though? We just talked about everything those fins do, right? I just explained how much they contribute to its movement. If we take off that dorsal fin and put the shark back into the ocean, what is going to happen to it? And the other picture shows you the tiger shark. Tiger sharks are one of the ones that the fins are considered very valuable. So they are hunted this way and their fins are taken, and it's caused a significant decline. So let's see what you guys are saying. Yeah, so if you take the fin of a shark and put it back into the ocean, it's not going to be able to swim, and it is going to negatively impact the shark. It will cause it to die because it cannot swim for its food. It cannot move in the correct manner. Yep, there you go. They die because they can't swim. So that's the problem with doing that type of thing. Outcome 3 asks about the mussels, and there's 2 different types. Mussels are what help them to make them an apex predator. They're not the top of the food chain because technically that orca, or the killer whale from earlier, can predate on great white sharks. So not technically top of the food chain. My model's a great white. That's why I said great white. But there are 2 types of mussels that do help them become really quite high up on the food chain. And they are red and white. So in mine, make myself bigger for just 1 second. You can see that the red mussel is all along the body. And then the fins here, which way do I go? Here and here, here. Those are your white mussel, or fast twitch, it's called. So red mussels, that whole big body part, those are the ones they have myoglobin, and that's what gives them the color. So it's a protein that stores oxygen, lots of oxygen going there. That gives them the sustained contractions for long periods of time. That's the one that gives them for continuous swimming. They're constantly moving around. They can patrol vast areas looking for things. They can migrate. They can maintain positions against currents. So those are the ones that just allow them to keep moving. The white mussel, the ones in their fins, those are the ones that have less myoglobin. So it's really, really quick bursts of energy that they get from that. They can contract rapidly, but it fatigues quick. So they can only use them for short bursts. And then the muscles are too tired to continue. So they're the ones that give them the explosive movement, especially when they're like hunting prey and things. It's that sudden, fast lunge and chase to get their prey that they use those white mussels for. Whales attack them for their livers. Possibly their livers are very, very important. I'm not a marine biologist. I studied mostly land ecology, so I don't have all the facts and figures. I can do biology stuff because I had to do loads of dissections of all sorts of creatures through my studies in my undergrad, but I have never been a marine biologist. Yeah, the model's incorrect. Sharks have, my model is just a little plastic thing. It's to give you an idea of things. It's got quite a few things wrong with it that I found so far. Next, outcome 4. So we're up to 4 now. It's skin. So this is dermal denticles. I showed you this at the beginning. And this is the layers of their skin. in a really cool evolutionary adaptation, every different family of type of sharks, so like requiem, hammerheads, nurse sharks, they all have different shapes to their dermal denticles. So you can see in that image there, that's a scanning electron microscope image. So that's going really, really close to one of the dermal denticles. So just one of them, they're really, really small. Going in really close with the microscope and looking at them. And look, they all have different shapes. I think that's pretty cool. So it's made of a hard material called odontoid, which is similar to teeth and bones, and is capped with an even harder enamel. They're not randomly arranged. They're oriented in a very specific way with ridges running in a direction from head to tail, and that will help them reduce drag so that they can be faster and streamlined in the water. It minimizes the drag. It gives them a boundary layer, so that means there's a thin layer of water that stays close to the shark's skin, and that allows it to reduce friction in the water. And then it gives them passive lift. So you can think of it like when we did the airplanes and learning about aircraft and those things, you still get lift forces the way airplane wings work. You still get lift forces in water, especially with the type of skin that they have. And this is, I've written on the side, biomimicry. Scientists have used this and engineers have used this feature for lots of different things in the real world, for things, technology for humans. So it's used in hammerhead sharks look like Sid from Ice Age. Do they? Maybe a bit. I can see it. Yeah. We use this technology for things like airplanes. So airplane skin is made in a very similar way. Next, let's talk teeth. So what were you just telling me? Something like they have 2,000 plus teeth? Is that what you were just telling me? And why? They have rows and rows and rows. Why? Why do they need so many rows of teeth? And great whites, actually, it can be up to 3,000, huh? So great white sharks can have up to 3,000 teeth that they replace over time. So my model, while not the most accurate, does show that there's like a conveyor belt of teeth in there. So like the jaw can come out of this. I can remove the jaw. His brain just fell out. I can remove the jaw and you can see that there's different rows happening. So he's got rows there. And then actually this is a female because it has ovaries. So this is its inside would be the ovaries. And then this is the uterus where the pups, so they give live birth. They do live birth. So that would be inside. So this is a female great white, right? But there's rows of teeth here. Oh, the camera's just terrible, isn't it? There's a second row back there. So mine shows 3 in my model. And this shows quite a few laying down and coming up. Here's an actual open mouth of a great white. Multiple rows of teeth. They lose them easily. Yep. Sharks don't have just one row of teeth. They have multiple rows behind one another like a conveyor belt, and they're constantly developing and moving forward. The sharks lose their teeth due to wear and tear, breakage. Prey struggles and runs away with their teeth. There's lots of reasons they can lose them, but the next tooth in line just moves forward. And there's pressure on their gums and jawbone that allow the teeth to just constantly be moving forward. New tooth rows are continually produced throughout a shark's life, ensuring a steady supply of replacements. I have shark dentures, yeah. The teeth regrow all their lives. You guys are full of beautiful facts for me. Worn out and broken teeth are obviously less effective for catching prey, correct? Right? We would agree on that. If your teeth are broken and worn out, you're not going to be able to grab and snatch. And they have really, really sharp serrated teeth. And those sharp serrated teeth are what allow them to grab their prey and maintain control of it. So they need that for functionality. So they have to replace them when they start getting worn down. And then as sharks mature, their diets change. A young shark won't take down just smaller fish, right? But as they grow and as they age, they're going to be able to tackle larger and larger prey. And so that will change the size and shape of their teeth because they're going to need different grasping and tearing and all of that type of movements like we'd get with canine teeth. The ability to constantly replace teeth allows sharks to adapt to changing environments and food sources throughout their life. Next thing we're going to talk about is livers. So I'm going to show you this before we talk about what they do. Well, I'll show you in the next slide, actually. I think the next slide's better. Function of livers. It's for digestion. The liver produces bile. Humans do too. So we have livers in our body too that help produce bile, and it's a digestive juice that helps break down fats in the intestines. That's what they do. Liver stores excess nutrients like vitamins and glycogen, which is a type of stored sugar for later use. So vitamins and things that we're going to need to use later can be stored there. And it detoxes. So the liver is a big detox organ. But shark livers are a little different from mammals for a very specific reason. Does anyone know what that is? This is what it does. This is where it would be in a shark. So that's a basking shark. That's one of the filter feeders. What is unique about these livers? One of them is what that image shows there, which is the size. So if this is the size of a great white, if this is a model that's supposed to be correctly in size, this black part here is how big their livers are. Their livers are massive compared to their body size. Massive compared to their body size. It's normally up to about 25% of a shark's body can be taken up by that liver. So it's very, very big. What the difference is, what the difference is oil storage. Sharks' livers have a high proportion of oil compared to mammal livers. That oil helps them remain buoyant and provides them with a really good energy reserve. They need that burst of energy, right? And that oil can help them with it. So not only is it helping them stay buoyant and be able to, float around the ocean nicely, but it gives them all the energy reserves that they're going to need for their hunting style. Due to oil storage, shark livers can be much larger relative to body size compared to mammal livers. So that's what I was just trying to show you. Their livers in my model are absolutely big. So that's one of the things that's got right, this model of a shark, is that the actual liver size inside here is really big compared to the shark size. So this is the length of the shark. Look how big that liver is. And then the last thing we need to talk about are gills versus lungs. Another reason that the sharks have good movement in the ocean. So humans, which is which one of these is the gills and which one of these is the lungs? Which one of this is human and which one of this is shark? Can you tell me in the comments? Alex, it's huge. Yeah. Shark livers are very, very, very big. But they need that. They need that energy and they need that buoyancy in water. So which is which? Okay, so I see that the left is, you guys are getting gills versus lungs. And I can show you that on my model in a second. Gills are those top one. So that's because sharks breathe underwater, right? So they take water in through their mouths. Water flows over their gills and oxygen dissolves in the gill tissue and goes into the bloodstream. So their heart is still pumping oxygenated blood, and it's going because instead of going from the lungs to the body like in humans, it's going from the gill tissue through the body. So the heart there is pumping it to the gill tissue and then pulling out the oxygen from there. Mammals breathe air using lungs, and we breathe out carbon dioxide. At the same time, gills also get rid of carbon dioxide. They diffuse out of the blood and into the water. So gills versus lungs, well, oxygen extraction. Yeah, I can see you all got it right. Left was the shark and then the right was the human. Why is this important? Well, they need oxygen. They need oxygenated blood. That's going to propel them. They need that oxygen to survive, the same way we need to breathe oxygen, and it travels through their blood. So lungs are much more efficient at extracting oxygen from the air compared to gills. So humans do it better extracting oxygen. Breathing air with lungs requires less energy than extracting oxygen from water. So their gills work harder to get the oxygen. But unlike lungs, gills don't play a role in buoyancy. Instead, it all comes from shark liver. So it's the livers that help them with buoyancy. So their gills are simply a function of trying to get oxygen out. So let's make this smaller for a second. And in mine, you can see here on this side of the great white are its gill slits. That's the slits behind which the gills would be. And then when I flip it over, you're going to have the gills. So normally a shark has somewhere between 5 to 7 gills on one side. And then it will have all this surface area, and you can see it open in that picture there, to try and extract as much oxygen as they can as the water passes through. Okay. And that is it. So this is a skilled lesson simply because it takes a bit of writing or typing to get all the answers in. But things that you need to describe for me are skeletons, cartilage versus bone. Remember, all of this has to do with movement. Fins, where they are, the names of them. Muscles, red versus white. Skin formation, those dermal denticles and how it gives them a streamlined, and they have that like layer of water next to them to lower the friction. Their teeth, and then their organs, livers and gills. Right? So you have livers, the difference between mammals and the sharks in terms of size and that oil content, and then the gills versus lungs in terms of how we can extract oxygen. Extended learning would be to go and look in a museum at some, either the pseudo skeletons of the great white or models, or something like this model. I was just lucky. This just happened to be sitting at a charity shop near me one day, and I thought that's going to be really, really handy for this lesson. So models and stuff like that will help you to understand. And if you really wanted to extend your learning, you could do something with a dissection of a fish. Okay. I will see you guys again next week. You have a maths lesson on Monday, and then I will be back with you on, I think, Friday of next week. So have a lovely weekend, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for joining me. Bye.